The mindset of an inspired generation. Power 98.7. Now we're talking.
Time now is 26 minutes to the hour 8 o'clock, and welcome to this segment, a very exciting one called The Power Suit. And tonight on The Power Suit, we delve into an inspiring journey, really, of Bongani Dladla, a visionary leader whose path from Edendale Township in the corridors of Cambridge University and now the helm of the Construction Industry Development Board is nothing short of extraordinary, if you will. In an industry often associated with hard hats and heavy machinery, Bongani brings both intellectual rigor and people-centered leadership, having risen through the ranks while remaining deeply committed to transformation, sustainability, and economic inclusion as well, from reshaping infrastructure frameworks to fostering opportunities for emerging contractors. Bongani is just building roads, or he's not just building roads and bridges. He's helping build South Africa's future, if you really look at it. Let's get to know the man behind the strategy, his history of perseverance, and what lies ahead for the country's construction industry. Bongani, a great pleasure to have you in studio with us this evening.
No, thank you very much to you, Nhlanhla, and to everyone who's listening.
So from Edendale to Cambridge, I mean, this is a remarkable journey. Looking back, what internal drive or even external support helped you defy the odds and aim so high, really?
Yeah, really, I think one, it's the environment one was growing in, where you are surrounded by people in their ordinary way but are doing incredible things. You know, we're looking at new infrastructure that was developing at the time, and also the school's challenges that come with some of the schooling, but it helps you to sort of build other skills that you'll need later on in life. So it's really just that, where it's the environment that one grows up in and the people that you surround yourself with.
So South Africa's infrastructure challenges are both urgent and very complex, as you'd know. How did your international experience at Cambridge indeed reshape your thinking about solutions as well, or local solutions? Yeah,
no, it's quite important there, because in a class like that, you have many people from different backgrounds, from UAE, many
all
other
over
parts
the world,
all over the world.
Yeah.
But you find that problems around infrastructure development, especially when you are looking at it from the lens of sustainable development, are universal. So there, it really helps you to be able, because you have exceptional talent there, from economists, engineers and all that, to play with some ideas, look outside the box, put up new policy proposals, and experts will be looking at that and providing you feedback. So it gives you a lot of confidence in terms of understanding that some of the world-class knowledge that exists on sustainability can also be infused to solve some of our challenges. And it's even more important for us, a country like ours, where we have histories of inequalities and also high unemployment, to be able to find some of those solutions. Some of the test cases that we've done here, I remember early on in my career around infrastructure, there are textbook cases that side on how to best implement infrastructure. So it does help to have that international perspective and learning from how others have solved similar challenges when you're trying to develop policies here at home.
Learning from others around the world. But in your view, what role does engineering go beyond technical design? How does it play in addressing social justice and economic inequality in a country like ours, in South Africa?
You see, infrastructure, and I think we need to infuse more of also the social sciences to engineering, in a sense that we are not building roads for the sake of building roads. So it's not just projects. You have to look at it as systems that will connect people, that will help grow the economy. You also have to look at it as an opportunity, because when you look at infrastructure in South Africa, it has a huge multiplier effect on employment, skills development, enterprise development. And when you have a significant drive of spending on infrastructure, you ought to be looking at what are the other socio-economic challenges. And there are simple things on doing that, including communities in those projects that you are doing, both economically in terms of subcontracting opportunity, and also providing those construction sites as a place for training and skills development.
Yeah. Tonight on Power Suit, we delve into the inspiring journey of Bongani Dladla, a visionary leader whose path from Edendale Township to the corridors of Cambridge University and now the helm of the Construction Industry Development Board is nothing short of extraordinary. If you want to connect with this extraordinary leader, please do feel free to give us a call or a ring on 0861 987 000. That's our studio line, WhatsApp line. Drop us a message or a question that you might have to him as well regarding some of the workers of the Construction Industry Development Board. If you want to understand more about the CIDB as well, please feel free to call on Twitter or X. We are at PowerFM987. Bongani, I want to shift gears a bit and speak about leadership. Leadership often demands both vision, but also demands humility as well. Can you share a time when a setback or failure shaped the way that you lead today?
Well, oh wow, a specific time. When even early on, let's take it back to high school, where, for instance, it was a good school, but a school in a township that was not as resourced as many schools that many of my counterparts later in life would go to. So there, for instance, we lost a physics teacher. I think we were doing grade 10, 11, so grade 10. So for a long period of time, we are without a teacher on a subject that, is quite important for you if you intend to be an engineer. So there we sort of got to group ourselves as students, teach ourselves, exchange time. So that's how I also lead now, try to reach as much consensus as possible and be able to explain things in simpler ways so that everyone can understand when we make a decision. So I think even early on in my career, when I started working as an engineer, the same approach, because I've always led large teams to be able to explain the vision, because there's nothing more important than everyone understanding what is it that you guys exist for. So having to be able to explain those ideas, to even convince myself that I understand, I think has been going through quite in my career, and it really helps in the various industries that I've been in.
You've spoken before about the importance of sustainable development.
Yeah.
What does sustainability mean in the context of construction in a country like South Africa?
As a country that is facing significant challenges with a backlog in infrastructure, we've come a long way over the past 30 years, but there's still a huge gap. A country that is also struggling with youth unemployment, a country that is struggling with other inequalities that you have to sort. So construction, because there's a huge investment. I think the President has announced R1 trillion to be spent over the next 3 years. So you have to use that infrastructure to solve some of those other challenges, meaning that turning every construction site that is large enough for an opportunity to have skills development for TVET college learners. So there's that component. When you are looking at how SMMEs can be supported through subcontracting opportunities, but that are guided towards development, construction lends itself well into those types of activities because it does accommodate the unskilled workforce and also highly skilled professionals involved. So it is quite good and it can carry quite huge numbers also on unemployment. So for me, it has the right ingredients to solve some of our socioeconomic challenges. Hence, sustainable development becomes important. We are not doing it just for the sake of building infrastructure, but along the way, we will solve some of the social ills that exist.
Mr. Dladla, many emerging contractors struggle with access to markets, finance, and compliance as well. What targeted support is the CIBD offering to level the playing field here?
Yeah, that's quite an important one. And it's always this aspect of saying, infrastructure business is also a business. So there are quite a few skills that one would require. And the first 20 years of the CIDP has really been mainly on the regulatory front. But now we are doing direct development where for those skills that we feel or there's evidence that businesses will thrive when they have them in place, like construction management systems, when you're looking at construction companies that are now grade 7, 8, and 9. So as a CIDP, we've started offering that directly free to contractors in order to be able to develop those types of skills. But we also, on the regulatory part, are writing policies like the Contractor Development Program that are aiming to create a safe space for emerging contractors to be developed so that they can come out and compete fairly in the open market. We are also looking at things like developmental finance, also aspects where we've signed agreements with the likes of CIFA, because also cash is king in the construction business. So it's those types of initiatives, both advocacy work that we'll do, but also understanding that we can also regulate some of these aspects, because that's really the most powerful tool we have as a CIDP, and direct intervention when we are able to collect enough money for those. And those, I think, will define the next 20 years of the CIDP as we try to improve the quality of the construction industry in South Africa.
As we speak right now, and as you mentioned, South Africa is preparing for an infrastructure investment wave. What are the biggest opportunities that this presents, and who stands to benefit the most here? Is it people who look just like me and you?
Oh, yes. And hence, even the policies, as currently procurement regulations are being drafted, they are actually being drafted to try and ensure that we have a more equitable system where still valuing the concepts of value for money to a certain extent, but ensure that there is equity. We don't have significant centralization of projects amongst the bigger construction companies. And those projects that are also big enough to accommodate a lot of subcontracting opportunities and mentorship in projects, hands-on work. Those projects also, in terms of the build program, the policies are actually forcing subcontracting arrangement that is developmental, not just exchange of money, but also exchange of skills and experiences in those projects. So this huge wave should be able to benefit really the majority and the diverse grouping within the construction industry.
Bongani, I'll tell you what, our listeners also want to engage with you.
Sure.
If you'll just indulge me and put your headsets on, as to give you an opportunity as well to hear some of the questions that we do have regarding all issues pertaining to some of the work that you lead at the Construction Industry Development Board. I do believe we have Muzi in Mamelodi. Muzi, you want to speak about the impact of the construction mafia with our guest?
Yes, thank you, sir. Let me just outline it to you clear before that the so-called construction mafia is not what should always be pointed out always as the people who should be benefiting onto a project should be always pointed out as mafia, as it is the likes of the old construction project, the likes of Marion Roberts and all other top construction companies are not construction mafias. The construction mafias are the top companies that are onto the so-called the National Treasury Fund who get these contracts, who after getting those contracts, they do away with all this 10% or 30% profit. They are the ones who are the original construction mafias. And I also like to lament regarding the issue of 30%, which is, I think, according to me, is not well gazetted. We should have a proper gazetted implementation of the 30%, because of, in most cases, the communities and the local business people are being taken out of these things due to not being gazetted. The so-called local SMMEs upgradations due to specific project, especially into construction, it is something that is not well gazetted, and the big companies. Nowadays they're blacks. Nowadays into this construction, it's no longer white supremacist top construction companies. It is black-owned people who they will come to you as a community or as a local business people to say to you, guys, the so-called 30% thing is not well gazetted.
Muzi.
happening to you. So I just want to,
Muzi, I think we've got the gist of your question. Sorry to cut you off there, Muzi, but I need to return to my guest as well. But Muzi highlights a very interesting assertions, Mr. Dladla. One of them being the so-called construction mafia, where, to put it practically, criminal groups disrupt projects and extort companies. This has become a growing threat to infrastructure development across South Africa. We can agree on that. What is the CIBD doing to address this, and how are you working with law enforcement and industry players to ensure projects proceed without intimidation or even delays to them?
Yeah, no, that one is quite important also for the construction industries to sort out, because it's really deterring good investment and good people from participating in the sector.
Yeah.
Late last year in November, we called a summit in Durban as a CIDB with police, National Treasury, Public Works, in order to come up with a more coordinated approach on how to solve these issues of the construction mafia or site invasions. And when we want to define this thing properly, colleagues, we have to look at it. If someone goes to site, violently so, demands participation in the project, and use violent means, and then at inflated prices, that part is not really development. We have to highly encourage the aspects of having local communities, genuine businesses participating in these contracts for their own growth and for the economic growth of the country. So as a CIDP, we signed a very important agreement with National Treasury, SAPS, around issues of crime and how it will be enforced on site, accelerating the path to arrest and taking these cases on court. And there's been a significant increase in those types of activities in terms of the numbers. And it's quite important because people now are trusting the system as opposed to paying these bribes or protection fees, as it's called, in some construction sites, because that actually grows these bad elements within the sector. There's also the National Treasury rules, regulations that have been crafted around procurement, especially targeted procurement and issues around set aside, which again goes to the point that Muzi raised around gazetting these things well. And what we are providing as a CIDP there are input around how do we avoid unintended consequences, even in the procurement system, because bad actors come in when we've not well gazetted or gazetted our laws, or also where there is ambiguity as to how decisions will be made. So we are making those contributions, and I think that ought to yield good fruit, positive fruits, as we will be empowering through these construction projects genuine construction companies in the various localities, especially on the issue of set-asides. We are working very hard with Treasury to make sure that we close the gaps that could have incentivized bad actors to influencing how procurement ought to work in this project.
Yeah, we've seen reports of projects being halted or delayed due to intimidation and extortion as well. Let's go to Alex right now as I give my guest another opportunity to wear his headsets on to hear from you, the Power listener, on 0861 987 000. That's the Power line. WhatsApp line 083 303 7093, or Twitter or X. We are at Power FM 987. Let's hear from Mabo and Alex right now. Mabo, what's on your mind?
Kunjani Nhlanhla?
Ngiyaphila baba.
Ngibingelele naku isivakashi sakho.
Siyabonga.
Nhlanhla, I provide a service, ne? So what I want to find out is do I qualify for CIBD grading? And how do I go about it? So I am in construction, but I'm an installer. I'm a fence installer.
Very interesting. Let's hear from Mr. Dladla about that aspect. So we're hearing from Mabo, who says that he's a fence installer. Very interesting case study here.
Yeah, and it's something I learned also when I joined the CIDP, really, as to how big that part of the business is. You'll find in some project, just the fencing alone is over 20 million rand, and it's a serious project. Yeah, we do have a class of work that focuses on fencing, especially this class of work. And what I could gather is that he's done construction work in that. He supplies and installs the material. If he does that, then he can come to register with the CIDP. We'll look at the sizes of projects that he has completed, and also look at their financials in order to put them at the appropriate grade where they could do work. But it's actually quite an interesting part also of the construction industry. And it is in that specialized class of work where we are not as transformed as the other types where we're looking at civil engineering and general building. So it's quite a good area to be in.
Maba, I hope you have your answer there. Fantastic stuff, and Godspeed to you with your business as well. As we start wrapping our conversation, Mr. Dladla, let's speak more generally now. How is CIBD working to ensure ethical, inclusive, or even transparent procurement practices across the construction sector? Concerns have been raised.
Yes. Well, what we've done is that we put out a standard for uniformity as a CIDP, which guides how procurement ought to be done. And also attached to that, following the challenges we had with the 2010 World Cup around infrastructure, we also included now a code of conduct where we can take on participants, both clients and contractors, when there has been irregularities during the procurement process. And right now we're working on also going as far as the deregistration of companies that have been found to either have fraudulently submitted document or did a fraudulent action during the procurement, and we are finding clients. So we are trying to create the environment and are going to be publicizing now, because in the past we've sort of not publicized much in terms of the deregistrations in order to try and set the right culture in the construction industry. Because if the construction industry is corruption free, it has huge potential for some of our challenges around employment and many other areas. And also internally at the CIDP, we are strengthening the CIDP itself through leadership development programs, culture improvement programs, so that the staff that I lead, they are able to best support the industry. We're also going digital to ensure that we can also catch fraud when people are making applications with the CIDP. And all of those things ought to create a construction industry that is far more sustainable than it has been before.
This segment is called the Power Suit, but we understand that beyond all the inner workings of the office and whatever else you get up to, there's a personal tone to you as well. With such a demanding role, I mean, how do you stay grounded and even avoiding burnout as well?
Well, that's a difficult one. No, I try on weekends to not, because I commute also between Joburg and Durban quite a lot, to try not go out as much. And also whenever, because I also like interacting with people, so we would host dinners at the house and just get to catch up with friends. I've still kept the same sort of group of friends, with new ones also coming in from the days of university, and many of them are practitioners in the space, so they get to also critically tell us when they feel we are going wrong. And also try to just work with the communities that you serve. You know, nothing beyond, nothing more important than actually seeing the impact that the work that you're doing on the ground, so that you can be motivated to actually do more. And you realize when the organization is not performing optimally, what does it mean really to the community that we ought to be supporting. So it's quite a fruitful role, and I'm happy that I did engineering, because it's the impact is more visible. You can see it, you can feel it, you can touch it. So it really helps you as a person to also keep yourself motivated.
Speaking about that, we've been delving a lot with the question of what success looks like throughout the week, actually, with the different guests that we've been speaking to. Maybe let's pose that to you. In terms of success and a forward movement, if you will, really, and seeing significant growth, how would you define that? What does success mean to you?
You know, success to me really means you've been able to achieve what you've set out to do in an ethical manner, and you can still sleep at night knowing that with the responsibility you've given, there's nothing else more you could have done. Whether the initiative is success is positive or negative, but as long as you feel that and you know that you've done the best that you could, for me, I think that what success would really be for me. Like at the CIDP, we are given a responsibility to develop and transform the industry. If after 5 years at the helm of that institution, I feel that, or I see that the industry is still the same, then we wouldn't have been successful in that role. We would have just wasted people's time and taxpayer money and contractors' money by just being there. So success for me in that type of a setup would be if I can see projects are moving faster, contractors are growing, young people are getting opportunities in construction site, and these are the things that we can track.
There you go.
Quantitatively. So that's what success would be for me. But in life, it's really knowing that you've done your best in an ethical manner and you can sleep better at night. Then for me, that's what it is.
Excellent, excellent. Finally, when you think about legacy, as a leader, an engineer, and really a change maker, if you can add that one too, what impact do you most hope to leave behind in all these workings?
I've been thinking a lot over the past 4 years about how to change cultures of institutions or industries. And then I've gotten to realize and accept that, to change people fundamentally, it's really not in your hands. People change by themselves if a big event has happened. But what we can do as leaders, and the legacy that I hope I will leave also at the CIDP, is that we've changed the context in terms of how people are working, in terms of work-life balance for themselves, whether their families are better off or whether they feel like waking up, coming to work. So if I change the context at which the CIDP is operating and the construction industry is operating to be more of a positive one, then that's the type of legacy I would love. I don't want to deal with I would rather deal with the complex issues around culture and transformation and development, those types of things.
Bongani, let me thank you for your time. Maybe very quickly before we let you go, for those wanting to find out more about the workings of the CIDB, perhaps give us a bit more information or any additional information that you think we must know.
Yeah, no, the CIDP, and I hope they do follow our social media pages and also look in the website, because we are really looking for partners to work with in order to develop the construction industry, which it's really needed. So the CIDP is both to regulate the sector in terms of giving licenses to operate, developing guidelines, but we're also meant to develop the sector by providing skills development and all those. And those are the initiatives that will really shape the working of the CIDP over the next few years. And we are really looking for partners, both contractors, other government departments, private businesses, so that we can really build this construction industry.
Bongani Dladla, CEO of the Construction Industry Development Board, giving us a masterclass in leadership, resilience as well, and reimagining South Africa's infrastructure future, from academic excellence to really transforming the built environment. His story is one of true purpose and progress, and I do hope that you found this one another inspiring story right here on Power 98.7. Coming up next, your latest news, of course, with Thabo Mashapa, keeping you abreast with the day's biggest headlines. Then TT takes over on Power Perspective, bringing sharp insight and bold debate. You don't want to miss this. So do stay tuned. Let me thank you for the pleasure of your company this week. Nosipho Radebe returns on Monday. Take care.
Power Business was proudly brought to you by MTN. Today, we make moves.